Hey there, in today's video I'm going to do this, the Nike Ultrafly. First I'm going to show some video clips of me running in them, then I'm going to put them on the turntable and list their specifications, then I'm going to review them, and finally I'm going to see if I can recommend them. I'm making this video because I recently ran the Jack and Jill's Marathon 2023 near Seattle in Washington, USA. It has a trail surface, and earlier on in the year when Nike announced the release of this carbon plated trail running shoe, I was very excited, waiting to get it, and I had planned to run the race in it. As it happened, it got released just at the time I was away running the race, and I ran instead in the North Face Summit Vectiv Pro. So I've come back, I've done some runs, I'm going to try and compare this shoe with some of Nike's other Zoom X shoes and also the North Face Vectiv Pro. This video might be long, so there are chapter marks below so you can skip on through to the bits you might be interested in. Let's get going. To test the shoe, I ran on a variety of different surfaces. I ran on sand, shale, rock, grass, gravel, hard-packed trail, road, anything I could around and about the place to give me a test on a variety of different surfaces. Before I review the shoe in detail, I'll put them on the turntable and we can look at their specifications. Nike say that the shoe weighs 280 to 300 grams, 9.88 to 10.58 ounces. This shoe is a US men's 13, EU 47.5, UK 12, CM 31, BR 46, CN 310, in brackets 2.5. In this size it weighs in the left shoe 349 grams, 12.31 ounces, and in the right shoe 345 grams or 12.17 ounces. It has a 38.5mm stack height. It has an 8.5mm drop. Nike say this about the Ultrafly: manifest your mountainous best when the trail ahead is skiddy and uncertain. Our all-new championship trail racing shoe melds our best speed components from the running world with what you need to plant your flag first at the finishing line. It offers peak performance, sleek speed and endurance for those who want to summit nature's playground. Let's review the shoe and see if what Nike says is true. We'll have a look at the upper of the shoe first, and I'll stick on a light and stick it through the shoe so you can get an idea, and you'll see a sort of glow from the shoe. There's a kind of surface material on the outside. It's similar to what's on the Atreyu base trail running shoe that I have. It's also very similar to what's on the Nike Zoom X bag. But unlike the Atreyu, it has a liner inside. You'll see a piece going in here. You'll see the liner, sort of little white liner throughout. The theme of the upper, like everything else in this shoe, seems to be simplicity. It's fairly basic, with a lack of ventilation, a distinct lack of ventilation compared certainly to the Vectiv Pro or indeed the Vaporfly, which has a lot of different holes in it for ventilation. There is no real ventilation in this shoe. The simple basic design continues to the laces, which are really, well, they're very, I mean, they remind me of old football boot laces. They're very fat, they're kind of like you'd find in an older, much older pair of shoes. They're nothing like you'll find on the Vaporfly or the Alphafly, the sort of ridged, thin races. Quite strange. I mean, they work. It did come untied on me when I was out running, but yeah, they're really old school laces. The tongue on the shoe is extremely straightforward. There's no pass-through, so it lags a little bit, but there is a little bit of padding underneath, and then there's a sort of Alcantara fake suede edge to it. And the one thing is the opening is very good. It opens really wide. It's very easy to get the shoe on and off and secure it tightly. I really like Nike's Zoom X foam. I have it in the 3 versions of the Invincible I have, 2 versions of Alphaflies, the Vaporfly 3 and the Streakflies, and it's a foam I really like. I find it gives me a lot of return. In this shoe, there's a carbon plate sandwiched in between the foam, and interestingly, there's a fabric wrap around the foam. I think that's possibly because in the Invincibles, certainly in my first version, they wore pretty badly, and if it was to abrade at all hitting on the side of rocks, I think that it's a lightweight foam. So I suspect that's why they've wrapped it in the fabric. It has a 38.5mm stack and an 8mm drop, and pretty standard stuff. It's not the 40mm max, but it's a pretty high stack for a trail shoe. Nike have made a big deal of their partnership with Vibram for the outsole. There's lots of lugs on the outsole, very similar to the Vectiv Pro. These ones are shallower at about 2mm compared to what the North Face was saying, 3.5mm on the Vectiv. But once you put the shoe on and you go running on the outside on the hard surface, I immediately noted the grip and traction. It was really noticeable that there was good grip and good traction in the shoe. I was surprised by the weight of the Ultrafly. It is 345 grams or 12.17 ounces. That's a bit heavier than the Vectiv Pro, which is 327 grams or 11.53 ounces. And of course, it's heavier than the Vaporfly 3 at 242 grams or 8.54 ounces. But I thought it would come in somewhere between the Vaporfly and the Vectiv Pro. I didn't think it would come higher than either of those. So it is a bit on the heavier side for me. There is a very generous toe box. The toe box is really nice and wide, something I care about a lot in shoes, and particularly on trail shoes. It's really nice so that when you're going downhill, there's a really nice way you can splay your toes if needed. Yeah, so very generous toe box and fits true to size for me, but it's a bit heavy. I was surprised by the design of the shoe. There's a recurring theme here, I think, where I found it kind of uninspiring. I mean, the Alpha Flies, the Vaporflies, even the Invincibles, there's something about each of them in terms of design. This is very ordinary. I mean, it looks okay from this side, but it has this very ugly logo on the other side. It's Nike's trail logo, but like it's just crudely applied. Doesn't look good at all, in my opinion. And would have been better if they reversed it out, so you only saw the pick out of the mountain and maybe the Nike logo. But it's only available in one color: white, total orange, pale ivory, and black in both men and women's. And yeah, it works, but nothing more than that. So how does it feel to run in? Well, dare I say it, uninspiring. I have two Alpha Flies, a Streak Fly, the Vaporfly 3, and 3 sets of Invincibles, and each of them has an interesting running feel. You put the shoe on and it goes or wants to go. And I was expecting somewhere between, I was expecting this to be a Invincible 2 or 3 with a plate that gave it a lot of energy return, and I just didn't find that. I found it was very flat and uninspiring with little energy return or feeling of energy return, which I was really surprised at. I kind of, in comparing it to the North Face Vectiv Pro, which has a much more, it has a definitive rocker shape. I mean, it's not the greatest test in the world, but if you flick them on the table here, you can kind of see that the Vectiv Pro rolls around, and whereas the Nike immediately returns to the flat and it's staying there. So yeah, very disappointing feel on the run for me. Really wasn't what I was expecting. The one thing I do like about the shoe is the grip, which is really good. I did a basic shower test, the Vectiv Pro, which I think has got superb grip on one foot and the Ultrafly on the other. It's not very scientific, but I did the old twisting and the going backwards and forwards. It's not as grippy as the Vectiv, but it is a really grippy shoe, and yeah, that is, I think, its best point. It is a really grippy shoe. In terms of its use case, it's trail running, and the shoe is comfortable. It's fine running, but it didn't have any pep for me, and I certainly wouldn't run a race in them. The shoe costs €249.99, 260 US dollars, 229 pounds sterling and 95 pence, and 330 Australian dollars. I got it with a 30% discount because it was my birthday recently and Nike sent me a code. And when you compare that to the Vaporfly 3 is slightly more expensive in Ireland. It's exactly the same in Australia, and it's a bit cheaper in the US, so and it's a bit more expensive in the UK. So it translates to €259.99, $250, 234.95 sterling, and 330 Australian dollars. The Vectiv Pro, by way of comparison, is €250, 250 US dollars, 225 pounds, and surprisingly much more expensive relatively in Australia at $420. So yeah, about on par as a price for a carbon plate shoe. Now, whether it's worth that is another argument. To compare the Ultrafly to a couple of other shoes that I have lying around here, this is the Nike Wild Horse 7, a much cheaper shoe. It's been replaced by the Wild Horse 8, but I much prefer this design of collar that Nike have on a lot of their trail shoes. There's more bumper protection. It's a shoe and it's really significantly cheaper. These are always on discount. They're a shoe that I actually do like running trails in. This is the Invincible 3, another shoe I've run a lot in lately, and I thought that the Ultrafly would have some of the interesting run characteristics of this shoe, but it doesn't. Another shoe I've enjoyed running in a lot is the Atreyu Base Trail, and very comfortable shoe to run in, pretty good grip. And yeah, I actually like running in this shoe, and certainly all compared to the Ultrafly. But I suppose the most important one is its direct competitor, the North Face Summit Series Vectiv Pro Trail. There's much better ventilation in this. Yes, if it's raining, water will come in because it's a breathable fabric. There's a lot of dust on this from the last marathon. There's much nicer laces. The entryway is really nice into this shoe, and there's a much better rocker, and overall it's a much better feeling shoe that when you put it on makes you feel like you want to go running in it. Should you buy the Nike Ultrafly? Well, it'll come as no surprise if you watch this far that my view is no. When I got the shoe, I was expecting some excitement visually, some excitement technically, and some excitement in the running feel, and I didn't get any of those out of this shoe. I found it flat, uninspiring, and expensive. Even with the 30% discount, I found it to be an overpriced shoe. I haven't read any other reviews of the shoe, and these are my thoughts. It would be really interesting to feel. Maybe some other people think it was great, but for me, yeah, I had hoped to run the Jack and Jill marathon in this shoe, and now I'm kind of glad it didn't arrive in time, and yeah, it's on its way back to Nike. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it useful. If you did, it'd be great if you hit the like button. As always, with lots of stuff in the description below, and I'll happily answer any questions you put into the comments. There'll be a big blue subscribe button popping up there. It's ready videos there. Thanks for watching. Until the next video, just keep running along.